In 2022, we celebrate 130 years of HBCU football. On December 27th, 1892, Livingstone and Biddle College, now known as Johnson C. Smith University, played in Salisbury, North Carolina, with Biddle winning 5-0. Over time, HBCU football has evolved. HBCU football's popularity continues to rise. Millions attend games each year and millions more watch on television. The HBCU bands provide some of the top entertainment in the country. Over that time, some of the best players to ever play in the National Football League played at HBCUs. Every Monday through Friday on the HBCU Football Daily Podcast, national radio and television host Donal Ware takes a look at what's happening in HBCU football and talks with coaches, players, administrators, and media about the 2022 season. Make sure you join the conversation on social media by using the hashtag HBCU130. Now, here's your host, Donal Ware.
You've got it locked to the HBCU Football Daily Podcast for today, Tuesday, August the 9th. I'm Donal Ware, and hope you enjoyed the conversation we had with Willie Simmons, the head football coach at Florida A&M, on yesterday. We're going to take things now to Fayetteville, North Carolina. Say hello to Richard Hayes in his 7th season as the head football coach at Fayetteville State. His record in 6 seasons, 32-19. That's a winning percentage of 63%, 26-7 in CIAA play. That's 79%. The Broncos were 8-2 on last year as Coach Hayes joins us here on the HBCU Football Daily Podcast. What's going on, Coach Hayes?
Hey, man, how you doing? I appreciate you for having me today.
Absolutely. Appreciate you. 8-2 last year. It's a good record. It's a tough conference. You lose to Bowie State in the championship game, where it's one of those things with the championship games of a conference. It can help you, but it doesn't hurt you. Seemed like the Broncos should have been a Division II playoff team last year.
Well, it seemed that way with an 8-2 record, but we did play. We missed a week. We had an opening date last week. So we didn't have – the championship game is normally our 11th game, but it just so happened that it was our 10th game. I'm not saying that helped us or hurt us, but we look this year, we look forward to trying to make that playoff run.
Take me through last season, your thoughts, an 8-2 season, a really good season, record-wise, your best at Fayetteville State.
Yeah, we had a very talented group of seniors last year. Those guys had a 4.5-year run, including COVID, where they took our program, helped elevate our program to another level. Losing 22 seniors, guys that came in together and took all the tough, hard knocks early in their career, came together and ended up playing in 4 straight CIAA championship games. Those guys really meant a lot to this program. But we're not trying to look at it as we got to rebuild for 22. We're just trying to reload some of the talent, and some of the talent that we have this year was on the team last year and had some actual game reps in the past. So it's not totally new to them. But I have to give all the props to that 17 class. Those guys came in Fayetteville State and helped us change the mindset of the people around us, helped us bring a winning culture to this football program, and we're forever indebted to those guys.
And you have some guys coming back. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Joshua Williams, the first HBCU player taken in this year's National Football League draft, doing some really good things with the Chiefs right now. Talk about him and what, not only what he meant to the program on the field, but what he's continuing to mean to the program as a guy that is getting rave reviews right now in the National Football League, and how it may help recruiting and people talking about Fayetteville State.
Well, first thing I think about when I think about Josh Williams is that he's homegrown. He's from Fayetteville. He made the choice to come to Fayetteville State and further his career. He did an outstanding job for us while he was here. And it just goes to show that, it don't matter where you go to school. If you can play, they'll come find you. And as for Josh right now, the interviews and all the highlight reels that he's making right now, that's stuff we've been seeing for the last 4 seasons. He could have came back here for a senior year, but I'm glad he didn't. I'm glad he's out there making a name for himself, and he's made some plays against some high name guys in the league so far, and just the way he's handling himself and answering all the questions that everybody's asking him, he's handling everything really well, and we're really proud of him.
A guy you do have coming back in that secondary, Brandon Barnes-Brown. Speak to what he's a preseason HBCU All-American. Speak to what the type of player he is and what he's going to bring to the table.
Brandon's a dog, man. Brandon is to me, he reads three-step very well, quick passing game. He gonna get his hands on most of those hitch routes. You test him deep, he knows how to play the ball really well. He has excellent ball skills, some of the best ball skills on our football team. Brandon Barnes-Brown has, and a lot of people really didn't know about Brandon a lot because he had some injuries early in his career. But Josh Williams forced people to throw to Brandon a lot more, and now they know who Brandon is. Brandon has all the tools of a corner. He just don't have Josh Williams' size.
So is he? I mean, I don't want to compare the two players, but I mean, what do you think his prospects are if he has a good season in terms of possibly playing on that next level?
I think he has an outstanding shot. They've already come and done their spring measurements on him and another guy that's on the team. So he's already on the radar. They're looking at him, and I just hope that he has an outstanding season to match that. Richard
Hayes, in his 7th season as the head football coach at Fayetteville State, joins us here on the HBCU Football Daily Podcast. Keyshawn James he's graduated, right? If I'm not mistaken. Boy, what a player he was for you. Just wreaked havoc. You've got some guys that that aren't going to be with you this year. But speak to the defense. As I've seen you over this 5 years on the field, the offense has been there, but I know you've looked to improve the defense, and it looked like it took a turn last year. But what is that defense going to look like this year?
Much of the same. We finished pretty high in quite a few categories last year in the nation. Number one in passing yards allowed. We finished number one there. We were number 2 or 3 in total defense, number 2 or 3 against the run last year. So losing Keyshawn and a couple of other guys, De La Rosa, that's going to definitely hurt us. But we feel like we've recruited. I'm not going to say we've replaced those guys, but we have some guys we think can come in and contribute right away.
Who are some of the guys we need to? I mean, we mentioned, Brandon. Who are some of the other guys defensively that you expect to shine?
Well, Kenny Merritt is another veteran that's been in our secondary 3 or 4 years. Gerald Simpson, he was a second-team All-Conference last year at linebacker. He's back for his junior season. He's about to graduate, but he's back for his junior season. Devin Cowan up front. Karan Blunt, he's an anchor of our interior defensive front. And then Tyron Belcher coming out. He's going to have a coming out party this year at corner, I believe. He's the guy replacing Josh Williams right now.
I look at the offense. I look at Corey Lane. I mean, I seem to have a solid season, but when I dug into the numbers, he was 21 touchdowns to 5 interceptions last year. I mean, that's an excellent ratio. I think it may have been the best in the CIAA in terms of interception or touchdown to interception ratio. Speak to him, and I'm sure you have more expectations for him in 2022.
Kahari is the ultimate warrior, man. He's a student of the game. He's a leader. Like I said, he always rounds the guys up, making sure everybody's in place. Everybody understands what they're doing on the offensive end. And just so much that he brings to the table. He's always in the coach's office, always trying to find all the little nuances of the offense, just so he can be prepared when he steps out there on game day. And he's done a good job for us so far.
Who are your running backs? Who are you expecting big things from this year?
Well, we're expecting Saheem McQueen, Makai Fenner, Eli Henry, those guys that have been here for the past couple of years. We're expecting those guys, Darnell, Donshell, and Johnny Glasper. Those guys are gone now. So it's next man up at running back. We're going to keep a plethora of running backs, and we'll find the right ones to make the offense go.
Speak to some of the guys that Lane is going to be able to throw the football to this year and what they bring to the table.
Well, Toshiro Spivey is a returning starter at wide receiver. Brian Morgan, we signed about 8 or 9 young high school receivers. We really wanted to upgrade our receiver position. We have a transfer in Nike Martin coming from North Carolina Central. We feel like he's going to come in and contribute right away. Barry Elliott is a young man that transferred to us from Concord University. He graduated and has a year to play. So we took him. And another young man by the name of Travion Good, from out of High Point. He's a guy that transferred in from UNC Charlotte. And we feel like those three guys are going to come in and help our receiving corps grow.
Of course, the voice of Richard Hayes, and you can see him there if you're watching. He's the head football coach at Fayetteville State. He joins us here on the program. I want to switch to you for a moment. We go back to our days at A&T when I was in athletic administration. You were an assistant coach there under your uncle, the legendary Bill Hayes, who you played at A&T at that time. You know what's crazy, man? That Brad Holmes is the general manager of the Detroit Lions, and there's a picture of like the defensive front. I think it was like Holmes and BJ and all these guys coming up. It's like four guys. What do you remember most about those days coaching there at A&T? That was actually in 1999 when A&T won the HBCU national championship.
I just remember, I was in my second year of college coaching in 99, and we had high expectations at A&T, as we always did. And, it got to the point where that team knew that nobody could beat them. We lost that game early to Elon, I believe it was. And then from that point on, that team bonded and came together, and we went on we won the MEAC championship. I believe we beat Florida A&M. And then I know we went to play Tennessee State in the playoffs. I believe they were number one in the country at the time. Yeah. We went down to Nashville and beat those guys. And then we ended up in Youngstown, Ohio, at Youngstown State. And the snow was 6 feet high on both sides of the field, if you remember. And those boys whipped our butt really good. That was a tough one there, but, it gave us the experience. And I just think Coach did an outstanding job of preparing that team and getting the coaches to come together. We had a new offensive coordinator, I believe a new defensive coordinator. Those guys came in. And he had kind of revamped the staff at the time. And so we came in with high expectations and we lived up to them.
It's interesting. Again, 7 years in, right, at Fayetteville State. Mm-hmm. But, you had been an assistant coach for a while. Did you think you were going – you deserved the opportunity, a while back. Did you think that opportunity was going to come as a head coach?
I really didn't at first because I had – in the coaching profession, if there's a gap in your resume, sometimes you get lost in the shuffle. And when I got out of coaching in 05 and got back in 10, there was a little gap there. And Coach Manning gave me an opportunity. He knew what I was about and my integrity and all that. And so he gave me an opportunity to come back and get into the college game. And I believe I just flourished from there. I'll give Coach Manor, Coach Bulware, John Eder, I give all those guys all the credit because those guys brought me back and got me back on my feet in this coaching profession.
Last thought, Coach Hayes, and we appreciate the time. As I look at your schedule, 5 of your first 6 games are at home. Mm-hmm. How important is it to get off on that right foot and being able to win some of those home games as you hit that midway point of the season?
Well, it's very important to us. We understand where we are and what we're trying to do here at Fayetteville State. Last year, we went 5-0 at home, so we defended our home turf well. This year, we have a very, very tough home schedule with UNC Pembroke coming first and then Wingate, and those are 2 programs we have not been very successful against in the past. So if we can come out of the gates, first starting with Pembroke, put on a good showing, and then come out and put on a good showing against Wingate, we're going to feel really good about where we are for the 22 season.
Richard Hayes, again, in his 7th season as the head football coach at Fayetteville State, joins us here on the HBCU Football Daily Podcast. The Broncos open the season up Saturday, September 3rd at home against UNC Pembroke. That's a good rivalry. The 2 schools separated by 30 miles or so, something like that. Should be a good one. Coach Hayes, appreciate the time. Good luck to you and the Broncos this season.
Appreciate you for inviting me, and go Broncos.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the HBCU Football Daily Podcast. You can also listen to the podcast at BOXTOROW.com, iHeartMedia, or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to get your HBCU football fix on Box to Row with Donal Ware each weekend on the radio station near you, and on SiriusXM on HBCU, Channel 142, and on ESPNU Radio on SiriusXM, Channel 84. Follow Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at BOXTOROW for the latest in HBCU football, and don't forget to tell a friend.